So here it's asking us to find the average rate of change of each function on the interval specified. Whenever it says on the interval, it means that what they provide you right here, they're both x values. Some students, they mess up assuming that one is an x value and the other one is a y value. That is wrong. Whenever they're giving you interval notations, it's always the input. It's always the x values that are given. So right here, they're asking us to find the average rate of change. So average rate of change is always the change of y over change of x. That's how some students memorize it. Other students, they memorize it as the slope formula, which is y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, which is equivalent to f of x1 minus f of x2 over x1 minus x2. I will be using this format because for this problem, it's easier to work with. So now here, what I need is I need my f of x1. I need my f of x2. I need to know what x1 is and what x2 is. So now starting with x1, using the interval, the first value here is going to be my x1. The second value here is your x2. So x1 is equal to 1, x2 is equal to b. Let's just put this like this because you'll be using these values. Now to find my f of x1, we know what x1 is. So we're just going to replace that with the value here, which is equal to 1. And now I need to find f of 1. To find f of 1, I will be using the function given right here. So for every x inside of that function, I am going to replace it with 1. So it's going to be 4 times 1 squared minus 7. Here I use order of operations, so I see if there's anything to do inside the parentheses. It's 1 by itself, nothing. So now I go to the next step, power. So 1 squared is 1 minus 7. Now multiplication or division, so 4 times 1 is 4. Now addition and subtraction, 4 minus 7 gives you negative 3. So now right here, I have my first coordinate point, which is x1, comma, f of x1. So that's going to be 1, comma, negative 3. Now x2 is equal to b. And now I am going to replace this x2 with b. And now I'm going to use the same function for every x value I have. I am just going to replace it with b. So 4b squared minus 7, which could be rewritten as 4b squared minus 7. So my other coordinate point, which is x2, comma, f of x2, is going to be b, comma, 4b squared minus 7. So now I am ready to plug it into my equation right here. So f of x1, which is equal to negative 3, goes here. Let me just rewrite the equation so we can match it. F of x1 minus f of x2 all over x1 minus x2. So f of x1, which is equal to negative 3, minus f of x2, which is equal to, I'm going to put that in parentheses, 4b squared minus 7. In these problems, it's really important to put things inside the parentheses because the negative plays a huge role in these problems, and that's where students make mistake. Now, x1 is 1, x2, so minus x2, which is b. So now here, I am going to get rid of the parentheses by distributing this negative through. So that would give you negative 3 minus 4b squared plus 7 all over 1 minus b. Next, combining like terms, so I equals negative 4b squared plus 4 all over 1 minus b. So I added the negative 3 and the 7, and I got the plus 4. Now, next step right here, I noticed that both of these terms, they have a 4 in common. So I'm gonna factor out a negative 4. So by doing that, I will have b squared minus 1 all over 1 minus b. Now here, I have a unique factor. I know that this would be b minus 1 and b plus 1 all over 1 minus b. Now here I am going to do a small trick. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite the bottom. Instead of 1 minus b, it's going to be negative b plus 1. So I just switched the places of them. The reason I did that, now on the bottom, I can factor out a negative 1. And then you'll be left with b minus 1 if you factor out. And now notice that I can cancel one of the factors. And I would have negative 4 b plus 1 on top divided by negative 1. I can simplify further by dividing the negative 4 and the negative 1, giving you 4 b plus 1. I can't do anything further, so this would be my final answer. I am going to set this up right here, and I'm going to leave the rest up to you. So this one right here, just going to set it up. So it's also asking for the average rate of change. So here I am going to be using f of x1 minus f of x2 all over x1 minus x2. Now here notice that I used f of x1. x1 has to be first. You could also rewrite this equation as f of x2 minus f of x1. But now here you have to have x2 minus x1. So now here I have my intervals 9, 9 plus h. So this 9 right here is going to be my x1. 9 plus h is going to be my x2. So this is the function given. This is the function I'll be using. Now I used f. I could just, since here the function is that I'm given is a, I could just do a of x1, a of x2. It's the same. It doesn't matter. It's just the name of the function. So now here, my x1 is going to be 9. So finding a of x1 is finding a of 9. So evaluating the function at 9. So it's going to be 1. For every t, I am just going to place a 9. 9 plus 4. So that gives you 1 over 13. So my first point is going to be 9, 1 over 13. Now my x2 is an expression which is 9 plus h. So a of x2 is evaluating the function at a of 9 plus h. So for every t I see, I'm just going to place 9 plus h plus 4. Combining like terms gives you 1 over h plus 13. So my second point is 9 plus h, 1 over h plus 13. Now putting it into the equation, it's a of x1, which is 1 over 13, minus 1 over h plus 13. all over 9 minus 9 plus h. So now here, whenever you're working with a rational function, you're going to work on the top and on the bottom separately. So you're going to say the top part right here is an expression. Now here, look at it, we have two fractions. If we want to add two fractions, what do we need in adding or subtracting two fractions? Need to get the same denominator. In order for me to get the same denominator, I have to multiply this by the denominator of the second fraction. So 1 over 13 times h plus 13 over h plus 13 minus my second fraction, which is 1 over h plus 13. I have to multiply it by the denominator of the other one, which is 13 over 13. And that's all over 9 minus, now I'm going to distribute this, 9 minus h.